Hi, I'm Janae Claiborne, and this is Sweet Potato Soul. I've been a vegan chef, health coach, food blogger, and YouTuber since 2011. And over all these many years, I've seen people make the same mistakes over and over when they decide to become vegan. And unfortunately, if you keep making these mistakes, they can totally derail your progress as a vegan, and you might just give up and think that vegan eating is not for you. However, if you can learn about and fix these mistakes early on, then you can make vegan eating sustainable and you can make it last for a lifetime. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you the 5 mistakes that people commonly make when they decide to become vegan, and I'm gonna teach you how to overcome them and also how to avoid them. Oh, you do have my cookbook in stock? Great, thanks, bye. Have you ordered my cookbook, Vegan Vibes, yet? You're gonna love this book. It's got 100 delicious vegan recipes that are inspired by the South, by my travels all around the world, and just like good food. You know what I'm saying? Order today. The first mistake is one that keeps growing in popularity. Yes, mistakes do grow in popularity as the time goes on, especially as vegan eating becomes more mainstream. And that is the reliance on or eating far too much ultra-processed plant-based food. So when I became vegan way back in 2011, we didn't have that many options for vegan cheese, vegan meat, vegan processed stuff. Instead, we mostly had to cook at home, and we relied on whole grains and vegetables and fruits. And you know, all these studies that have been done on vegans, especially in the decades past, have been done on vegans who are eating a wholesome diet that is rich in fresh fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, whole grains, not on vegans who have been eating predominantly, I hate to say it, but vegan standard American diet, because nowadays that's totally possible to do. Just because something is vegan does not make it healthy, but most people come to vegan eating, if not for the animals, for their health. And it can be really tempting to go to the grocery store, especially when you're new to eating vegan, and see that there are aisles filled with delicious, highly palatable, highly processed vegan foods. And you want to buy all of them because it's like, ooh, these must be healthy because they're vegan. But it turns out they are not. In 2025, we have far too many options for ultra-processed vegan foods. Now, I don't want to tell you that you can never eat highly processed vegan foods. However, I do encourage you to limit those foods to no more than 20% of your diet, hopefully with the goal of eating no more than 10% going forward. And that's because all the benefits that come from eating vegan really come from eating so many plants. And if you're just relying on ultra-processed foods that come from, you know, a factory somewhere and that are packaged and filled with fillers and preservatives and sugars and fat, then you're not really going to take advantage of the full range of health benefits that come with eating a plant-based diet. You know, here in America, the standard American diet is so unhealthy, not because it's filled with meat, but because it is filled with ultra-processed foods and it is void of wholesome fruits and vegetables and whole grains, fiber, all those things. So when you decide to go vegan, whether it's for your health or the animals, or maybe a combination of both, I think it's very important to think of this as something that will make you healthy, that will sustain you, that will keep you thriving for a lifetime. And it is not going to be possible to do that and really feel your best if you are eating mostly ultra-processed, lab-made or factory-made foods. Sorry. They're really tasty. But again, as long as you don't eat them too much, just no more than 20% of the time, you should be fine. The number 2 biggest mistake that I see people making constantly, and I really want to say, you don't have to do that, honey. It is not necessary. Vegan eating is different than eating animal products, being an omnivore. The second mistake I see people making is applying their standard American diet culture to eating a vegan diet, especially to eating a whole foods vegan diet that is full of wholesome, unprocessed, or minimally processed foods like vegetables, fruits, whole grains, things like that. If you're used to restricting your calories and being on a diet, and you think of a vegan diet as a diet to lose weight, you can use it like that short term, and you can basically starve yourself and only eat vegan food. However, if you want to feel your best and have lots of energy, then basically you can let all that diet stuff out the window. Instead, focus on eating whole foods, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Limit highly processed and ultra-processed foods that we already talked about, and don't worry so much about calorie restricting and portion size. Eat until you're full. Eat until you feel energized and nourished. If you're still hungry, eat more. Don't worry so much about restricting your calories. And also, don't be so afraid of carbohydrates. You know why? Because all plants have carbs. You really cannot eliminate carbohydrates if you're eating a vegan diet. Instead, what you could eliminate is refined carbohydrates, meaning grains that are highly processed. For example, you might eat brown rice or black rice or red rice instead of white rice. White rice is a refined carbohydrate when all of the healthy stuff is removed to leave a highly palatable, easy to chew and easy to digest white rice. Where you got rid of all the bran and the hull, you've lost so much of the fiber and so much of the benefit of eating rice in the first place, right? That's just an example. You don't have to be afraid of carbohydrates when you're eating a healthy, balanced, whole food, minimally processed vegan diet. Let all that other weight loss stuff out the window. If you want to go on a quick vegan diet to lose weight, fine. But if you want this to be for a lifetime, then you're really gonna have to approach eating differently. I'm gonna tie the third mistake in to everything I've already talked about. And that is, I see people eating far too many refined carbohydrates, especially grains and pasta and crackers and wheat products, and not enough vegetables and fruit when they're eating a vegan diet. You can easily eat pasta every single day as a vegan. I love pasta too, but just make sure that you're also adding in plenty of nutrient-dense vegetables, legumes, and fruit. If you're having trouble building a healthy plate and you're not really sure what you should be putting on your plate, then I recommend checking out my blog post on the plate method. The plate method is just a guide to help you figure out exactly what should be on your plate. Let me break it down for you. Half of your plate should be a vegetable, especially a non-starchy vegetable like kale, broccoli, spinach, Brussels sprouts, collard greens, a combination of these things. You can even add mushrooms in that category. And then a quarter of your plate should be a vegan protein like beans, lentils, tempeh, or tofu. And another quarter of your plate should be a starchy vegetable like sweet potatoes, or a starchy whole grain like brown rice or farro or even quinoa. Of course, it doesn't have to be perfect. There's some overlap there. And then I like to finish off my plate when I'm doing this plate method, which is kind of like a Buddha bowl, by the way. I like to finish it off with a healthy fat, something like a tahini sauce or avocado or guacamole. Now you have a beautiful, colorful plate that is well balanced and nutrient dense. It's a good way to visualize and make sure that you're getting all the nutrients that you need and not relying too much on carbohydrates, especially the refined kind. Now we can totally eat brown rice and quinoa and oatmeal every single day, right? All 3 meals. However, you're really missing out on so much that the plant kingdom has to offer in terms of nutritional benefits when you eat that way. And you're really not going to reach your highest potential of healthiness if you just eat grains, right? And also these vegetables and fruits and spices and proteins, all of these things add so much more flavor and spice to life, so why avoid them? We're gonna make a little detour for number 4. We're not gonna talk so much about exactly what goes into your mouth. Number 4 is a social mistake I see people make, and I find that when people keep making this mistake in particular, it really means you're gonna have a hard time sticking with a vegan diet even when you've got it all down packed in the kitchen. And number 4 is apologizing and minimizing yourself in your vegan diet around friends and family. When you do this, you basically make yourself into the black sheep. And for example, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about deciding not to go out to dinner with your family because they're going to a restaurant that does not have a lot of vegan options, and feeling like, oh, I don't want to go and be awkward and have to order broccoli or not eat anything at all, so I won't show up. Or going to a family gathering and being really like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm vegan, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, oh, I'm so sorry, don't worry about me, don't worry about me. Especially when you don't bring something to share with everybody. They're really looking at you sideways, and they're not gonna get the vibe that this is something that you're doing for yourself to make yourself healthier or happier, or, to live more in alignment with your values. Instead, what I recommend is when you're surrounded by people who are not vegan and you decide to become vegan, be proud of the decision. You don't have to go around proselytizing and trying to get everybody else to become vegan. However, let's just say you go out to dinner with your friends and family and there are not a lot of vegan options on the menu. 1, check the menu ahead of time and see what it is that you can order. That way, you don't have to ask too many questions of the waiter once you're there. And even if you do have to ask questions, don't be overly apologetic, like, oh, I'm sorry. Instead, be confident, be clear, be excited to try something new. And if there is nothing for you, then maybe eat ahead of time and be totally fine with that decision. If they ask you why you're not eating, you can explain, well, you know what? I'm trying this vegan way of eating and I noticed that there wasn't anything on the menu, but that's totally fine because I learned how to make such and such recipe and I made some earlier today and I had it before I came here. It was delicious. I'm so full and I would love for you to come over and try this. It is so good. I feel so much better. But you go ahead. I'm gonna sit here. We're gonna have a good time regardless of whether I can eat or not. That's the vibe we're going into it with. I'm telling you, if you approach life, if you approach eating vegan this way with positivity and confidence, people are gonna catch on. People are gonna be like, I want what she's having, even if she's not having anything at the dinner table. They are gonna want to know what you're doing to be so excited and what is this new thing that you discovered, rather than looking at you like, you decided to become vegan and now you seem all sorry and like, why are you even doing this? We don't want that. Not for us, not for them. And trust me, one of the biggest complications when you first become vegan is managing family, managing your culture, managing not being able to eat your grandma's food at Thanksgiving. That's the hardest part. So we've got to do everything that we can to make that part easier for ourselves so that we can be vegan forever. And the 5th biggest mistake I see people make is not wanting to try new things and not letting your taste buds adapt and grow and your palate expand. Too often I see people decide they're vegan and they don't want to try anything new because, you know what, I don't cook that much and I never really did like X, Y, and Z, and beans make me bloated and all these excuses. Well, I understand you have your, your tastes. However, trust me, if you just start to expand your palate, start to try new things, start to try new recipes, and allow your body to even adjust. Like maybe beans made you bloated because you only ate them once a month previously, but if you eat them more often, your body can digest them a lot easier. And before you know it, you'll be like me, eating beans every single day and they don't give you gas at all. That is possible for all of us, but we have to be willing to open up our minds and try new things. It's totally fine to be picky. However, being picky is self-limiting. If you've ever looked at a picky child, or if you yourself are picky, I used to be picky, I used to be super duper picky, so I know from experience that being picky is not an abundant way of living. It's a very restrictive, a very limiting, and a very frustrating way to live. Trust me on this, as someone who had all those excuses, as someone who was so picky. When you change your mind and start to be open to new flavors and possibilities and new foods and new ways of cooking and new ways of eating, you will open your mind and life becomes so much more expansive. And vegan eating is no longer about restricting and not eating this, that, or the other. Instead, it totally flips and it becomes about abundance. Vegan eating, when I think about being a vegan, it means being able to eat so many different flavors and spices and different cuisines and different vegetables that I never even heard of before, and try new restaurants and just to explore, to be abundant, to be healthy, to be vibrant. That is what vegan eating means to me. And if you're highly restrictive, it might be more difficult for you, and it might mean that you're not going to be vegan for very long because you can't find enough that fits into that little bubble of acceptability that you want. You know what I mean? To open up your mind. And now to recap the 5 mistakes that you are going to avoid now that you've watched this video. Number 1, eating too much ultra-processed food. Instead, you're gonna limit ultra-processed food to no more than 20% of your diet, and instead rely on wholesome vegetables, fruits, beans, all that good stuff. Number 2, applying your weight loss diet culture to eating vegan. That is not gonna work when you went from eating an omnivorous diet that maybe had a lot of processed food to eating a nutrient-dense, low-calorie, vegan diet. Number 3, eating far too many refined carbs like pasta. Everybody, every day, pasta. Eat more vegetables, balance it out, follow the plate method. I'm gonna link to a blog post I did about this down below. So if you need more tips, if you need to see a visualization even more, check out that post. Number 4, apologizing for being vegan and for doing something different than the group. No more of that. Instead, you're gonna lean into feeling good about, feeling confident, feeling excited about this new decision that you have. And when people, your family, your friends are around you, instead of being like, oh, I'm vegan now, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm vegan now. You know what? You see that? It's a different energy. You got this. And number 5, limiting yourself. Instead, open it up. Be willing to try new recipes and new flavors and new foods, and understand that in time, the things that you don't think you like today might be your favorite food in a year, or even a few months from now. Try it. You never know what can happen if you try the same old foods in different ways. So just be open-minded. So now you know the 5 mistakes that I see all the time. And now that you know them, you're not gonna make them anymore. You know how to avoid them. But we all do make mistakes. So please be patient with yourself. Have grace with yourself. Understand that mistakes do happen, and you can just get back on board and try to do your best. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer to the best of my ability. Now, if you have any questions about health specific things, am I getting enough X, Y, or Z? How much this should I eat? Speak to a nutritionist or even your doctor. I also recommend getting your blood levels tested to see if you're getting enough vitamin D, B12, and all these things. Speak to your doctor. I am not a doctor. I'm just sharing my experience. Now, if you want to see more examples of how a vegan, especially a long-time healthy vegan eats, check out the other videos that I make here on my channel. Most recently, I posted a video about how you can get over 100 grams of protein without protein powders eating a healthy vegan diet, no ultra-processed packaged foods at all. And I also share videos like how I get more than enough vegan iron. I'll link those down below and you can check those out. And there's also so many, like hundreds of other videos here on my YouTube channel. And if you need vegan recipes, head over to my blog, sweetpotatosoul.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, Sweet Potato Soul, and hit that like button, and I will see you next time. Bye.